We are welcome to our board meeting, and we are about to convene. So if we could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Damachia?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Sturgill?
Here.
And Mr. Williams?
Here. Dr. Hall, Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Superintendent Mr. Tucker, Treasurer Mr. Weber, Board President Mr. Williams, and distinguished board members. Tonight we have a student from Credit Recovery Academy who will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Daniel Richardson is a student at Credit Recovery and the son of Thomas and Jeanette Richardson. He has an older and younger sibling. He plays multiple sports. After the pledge, he will be speaking on benefits of second chances. Mrs. Nicole Davis, Principal of Credit Recovery, is here tonight to support her student. Ms. Richardson, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. My name is Benjamin Richardson, and I am currently a student at Credit Recovery Academy. This evening, I would like to say a few short words about second chances. As a kid growing up in Lorain, sometimes it was not always easy to make good choices. I fell into that trap and made some decisions that resulted in not so great consequences. I chose to be a follower, not a leader that I know that I am, because it was easier and I thought it would make me fit in. I ended up being assigned to New Beginnings Academy as a result of my choices. At the start of the school year, I had worked hard enough to attend Credit Recovery Academy. It was at Credit Recovery that I really began to recognize that I had been given a second chance to get the job of my education done. Credit Recovery allowed me the opportunity to work at my own pace with the support of good teachers. I was even allowed to do community service within the building and be recognized for my leadership skills. I am grateful for the support of the Credit Recovery staff and from my parents and my family that all helped me make it, and most of myself taking advantage of my second chances. Thank you.
All of us are very proud of Ben as well. I've known Ben for the last couple of years from Credit Recovery, from New Beginnings to Credit Recovery, and he's grown a lot since that time. Excellent. We're very proud of him as well. I'd like to give your certificate on behalf of Superintendent Mr. Tucker. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We'd also like for his parents to please stand as well for an excellent job. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will go ahead with the presentation on New Beginnings.
Okay, one thing we have on second chances is I asked Dr. Hall earlier this year to take some trips and some teachers to some other schools and take a look at how we could improve upon New Beginnings. And with that, they came up with a plan, and tonight they'd like to present that.
New Beginnings is one of our alternative programs, and we're planning on making a lot of changes here for the following year, next year coming up. And we, with the GAN Academy and a couple of alternative school programs within the area. We also spoke with involved our community in the restructuring of the program as well. New Beginnings goals, become district aligned. The goals are the same with the district. Increased graduation rate. New Beginnings schedule aligned with Lorain City Schools. So our high school schedule will be aligned with, New Beginnings schedule will be aligned with regular high school schedule. So students will have an opportunity to participate in high school events as well, and high school activities. Improving meeting state testing requirements, OA and OGT. The school will once again focus on academics, passing the OAs and OGTs, and also meeting state requirements. Participate in all district formative and summative assessments. They're going to get aligned with the benchmarks and assessments that we're doing with the district. Everything the district's doing, New Beginnings will also participate in. Completing high school course requirements. That's definitely one of the focus of them to graduate and to either stay at New Beginnings to graduate from there, or to move on to Credit Recovery or back to the main high school. That's the goal for every student there. And of course, Ben is one of our success stories that left New Beginnings and moved on to credit recovery and about to graduate soon due to a lot of help from everyone else's support systems that he had in place for day one, which we're very proud of. Developing critical social skills. We'll place interventions throughout the day at New Beginnings, as you'll see later. Investing in research-based programs. One of the things we're really big on, especially for this year on, especially Mr. Tucker, as well as his team he assembled together in Charleston personnel and also teaching staff. We have a lot of programs that are within a district but not research-based, whether we have somebody come in and talk to the kids, but we want to have a research-based curriculum for all the students. Successful research-based practices that we want to practice at New Beginnings and also throughout the district in all our content areas. Career development, military, college, our career tech certifications. This year, we took a group of students to Ravenna Arsenal to explore the 1192nd engineers and also for different careers they had an opportunity to do. I believe you went with us, Ben, right? Okay, excellent. We took about 7 or 8 kids from credit recovery, also New Beginnings. They were able to go on tanks. They were able to look at engineers, construction, operate equipment from scrapers to dozers to all different kinds. They actually were able to drive the equipment there. So they were able to see different various job opportunities that they have later. We had a couple students from that experience actually sign up to the military National Guard from there. New Beginnings entrance and exit team. The students will have, we worked very diligently with the staff there to have an entrance and exit team. The team will develop an individual achievement plan for every student. When the students enter the program, they will have a plan from day one when they get there. Those who will be involved in the plan will become the parents, principal, school counselor, social worker, support agencies if needed, the court agencies, children's services, and a lot of support agencies we have. We'll invite them as well to sit at the table to develop a plan for every student that's going into New Beginnings. The plan will provide support systems for students who exit the program or return to their home schools. We've learned also that the students at New Beginnings will need a support system when they return back to the home schools. So we'll have counselors follow them there, and we also will have some personnel follow them there to check on our students once they leave New Beginnings to go back to the main school. So we all on the fall once they get to the successful and get to the main school. So we'll have support systems there to help them along the way. We're not going to leave them. We have a list of interventions planned for the school, whether from social interventions to academics. We develop partnerships with a lot of agencies around to have classroom interventions, small group interventions, and individual interventions for students. All the interventions you're about to see are research-based programs that have success. Campus Impact will assist us. LACADA, UMADA. We also have 100 men to do classroom presentations with us. Our CAS program for small groups, coping and support training. Aggressive replacement training, Think for a Change program. Girl Scouts are already piloting programs within New Beginnings and also other schools within the area. They have a bullying and self-esteem program as well. So we have programs catered towards male and also female, and also large groups as well. We also individual interventions we will have, social workers. And we also have Lorain County, we're working on an agreement with Lorain County prosecutors to work on attendance as well. Alignment with district and state initiatives. All the teachers there will be online with regular teachers at our regular schools. They'll engage in district professional development training, from the FAST training, SLO training, Race to the Top training provided. Teachers at New Beginnings will also engage in teacher-based teams, building leadership teams, to have those conversations with each other. How can they have success with our students at New Beginnings and not throughout the district? They will communicate with other teachers in the district as well. So when they have release time after school, they'll be on the same time period. They'll be able to go to high school and also communicate with those teachers there and share ideas. The sharing ideas is very critical, and that's what the teacher-based teams are for teachers to have that collaboration period for them. Internal and external instructional collaboration. They'll be collaborating internally and externally with their own and also with various other schools, Ginn Academy and so on and so forth, people that are professional and have expertise in those areas in alternative education. They'll engage in all federal, state, and district assessments. Utilize district-aligned Common Core curriculum. The books that regular schools will have, New Beginnings will have as well. They're following the same Common Core, the same district-aligned curriculum as everyone else, and we'll follow along with them. However, we will work with them, whether it's going to be hands-on, whether it's going to be a different style for us to work with them to reach that goal. We can't work things down for them, but we'll help them reach up for the goal as well. And we develop support systems for that. Academic interventions which we place at New Beginnings Academy. We have Study Island. It's an accelerated reader program, accelerated math program, small group tutoring, intervention classes. We'll have intervention classes built into the schedule because we know sometimes it's difficult for students to stay after school, especially when they're in South Lorain, to travel back and forth. So within the schedule, we have intervention classes at the high school level and also at the middle and elementary school level as well to provide that support for them. Title I support will be there for them. Actually, we have a Title I teacher that works there right now here. Does a great job there as well. Differentiated and hands-on curriculum for them. Engaged in all district and state assessments. I know we've talked a lot about the Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and response to intervention techniques that we're going to have. Those are levels of interventions that you have within the school system. You've been hearing that a lot. They just probably talk about it later with some more of his presentation he's going to have with the district's goals. Tier 1 are your first level interventions. Oh, I'm sorry, backwards. Tier 1 is your first level interventions. Those are classroom interventions, differential instruction, Common Core instruction that we're going to have within the school on a daily basis from day one when that student walks in the classroom. Tier 2, we'll take assessments from whether district assessments, accelerated reader assessments, and find out where the student's at, where he's behind, and where we can help him at through that Title I support, and also those intervention labs they're going to have throughout the day. And they also will have Play-Doh. And Tier 3, more intense, where they have more individualized instruction as well. They have a small group all the way down to individual instruction. Where they have Study Island, we cater towards them individually. Most of our familiar with the Accelerated Reader program. Students will be reading books based on their reading level, reading ability level, and they have a chance to go up. The math, accelerated math program actually will work with a student where they were short on as far as math facts. And they'll print out, give you a strategy, a plan, whatever, for the teacher to use different materials for that. And those are individualized instruction in Tier 3 form. Intervention programs for our high school level. We'll have academic interventions, small group counseling, career tech courses. This is new for this year. Career development, before and after school tutoring opportunities for our students, and Title I support will be there. The career tech courses. This is the first time it's going to happen this year. A lot of things are going to happen with Ben left, unfortunately. A lot of new things are happening there right now. Students are allowed to go to prom. Students are allowed to go to homecoming there. And these are 2 career tech courses that we place in New Beginnings. So we realize the need for that. We'll have building and maintenance there where students will actually have some shop classes, and we're going to develop a lab there for the students to engage in. The shop classes will eventually go to certificates for the students. So this won't go one direction, but it'll eventually try to get them in that career development stage. Career and college readiness program. There'll be new computers and software placed in New Beginnings too as well. They'll engage in computer, college, and career readiness class, where they'll explore different college careers, utilize technology to job search, and so on and so forth in that class. This class right here will actually lead into 4 college credits once you complete a series of courses at New Beginnings. So this is the first class of 3 other ones that they have to complete to receive college credit. All these career tech courses are aligned with the high school and also CRA, credit recovery. So once a student leaves New Beginnings Academy and moves on to CRA or the regular high school, these classes will follow with them. They won't miss a beat, they'll continue on in sequence. So one thing we'll run into was we had classes here, classes different places. Everything's going to be aligned now with them. So they can just move on to the next level if needed. A sample of middle school schedule with the before and after school tutoring. have core classes, you have itinerant, you also have academic intervention hour, for BOE enrichment, common core interventions. A lot of our students at New Beginnings we have different levels there from the low to the high. So we'll have enrichment courses as well for those students that are there. Because they are going to have to take the OEA and also exit exams and so on and so forth that they have potential for. We want to score high as possible in those exams. Our high school schedule, example of our high school schedule. Intervention math, and we have a set time in there for interventions for the students. So they're going to be studying their intervention math time. They're going to be studying for their OGTs and also exit exams to get them ready to pass in careers that they're going to need. Okay. The last part is careers. They're going to be there doing. We'll have labs for them as well, and also be preparing for whether it's going to be internships, college trips, and so on and so forth. We have that for them ready. Okay. After school, we offer Play-Doh after school and before school tutoring for them as well. Academic support materials we offer at New Beginnings. And not just offer New Beginnings, I also offer district-wide at the same time. Accelerated Reader Math, Accelerated Reader Reading, Common Core, Study Island, Differentiated Instruction, Play-Doh. So if a student leaves New Beginnings, Accelerated Reader, his information is still web-based, so they'll have it wherever they go.
Mr. Hall,
Yes, sir.
maybe you would help if you told all of us what Plato stands for.
Play-Doh is our online system that's more like a credit recovery system for us. We currently use A+ right now, so if students behind on credits, what they'll do is take a computerized system and actually keep on pace with that as far as if they're missing objectives, so on and so forth, they'll take those objectives on a computer. You have two different styles of Play-Doh. You have one with a virtual teacher and one what they can do within the school there. All this is done, mostly are done within the school. So students are there who are behind on credits New Beginnings. Sometimes we have students that are failed 2 or 3 courses. We'll insert them in a Play-Doh lab where they can make those courses up. So it keeps the students ahead, and so they can go back to the main high school. They may have missed algebra or geometry. We'll have a Play-Doh lab where they have a teacher there actually providing support for them, and they'll go in there and make up their credits as well. Because we're finding out we need to keep our students ahead and online. They can take the Play-Doh lab either after school, before school. They can take it during school time. During intervention time, too, they can be inserted into the Play-Doh lab. And once they leave New Beginnings Academy, Play-Doh's also at Credit Recovery. Play-Doh's also at the high school. So if they still taking a class and want to move on to Credit Recovery, the class is web-based. They'll move right on along and still continue taking their class. So it's no longer they leave New Beginnings and their data stuck there. They move on along the way so everything follows with them so they can graduate and move on. Our goal is to get every kid to graduate from the right schools. And I know it's remarkable. I know it can happen though. Alternative school to professional development. Now, our students at alternative programs are very challenging at times, academically and socially. So we'll develop professional development for those students, for our teachers there. Teachers will come in 4 days early for professional development. They have professional development de-escalation training. Differentiated instruction. Classroom management, and assessment training. So our teachers will come in 4 days early and engage in all these, for a full day training to engage in all these practices. So that'll get them ready for the school year prior to the kids are coming. We find it very critical. And these areas here will also be touched on throughout the school year. So we will not have professional development as classroom management one day and forget it, it was gone. But we're going to follow along throughout the year for our teachers to have it. And through our assessments and evaluations of the survey, we'll know what the teachers need help on as well. So we'll cater that towards them throughout the school year. New Beginnings Academy, dream this become a reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. A lot of times we talk about how we want to change our students, but it takes time, sweat, dedication to do that. And right now, we've had a lot of people place time in the changing New Beginnings program from the career tech area to adding new computers to Mr. Hawks placing a full staff over there for cleanup with the facilities. And we do have Superintendent Mr. Tucker leading the program is actually investing time into the program. And we also have a lot of agencies assisting us as well. We have a van to Licata coming in to help us out as well. We also have a lot of counseling services willing to come in here as well to help us with our students. And right now, I believe it's going to take a village for that program, and also where we're having it occur right now. And it's great we're collaborating with other agencies around. And if you're an agency around today, if you want to get involved with our New Beginnings program, please give me a call. That's the end of the presentation. I know I went kind of quick. Yes, sir.
Just, Mr. Richardson has moved out of the program into credit recovery. He's going to graduate in January.
Yes, sir.
What determines when a student can move back into a regular curriculum or a regular building?
The team will meet weekly. They're going to meet anyways from a teacher-based teams. So they'll get together, determine, set goals for that student. Each goal may be different for every child. So that child will be based on academics and social goals at the same time. One should not hold the other one back at times. So we may have achievement, well, you're going to reduce your suspensions or referrals down. And you may get up on grade level, 5% increase in your accelerated reader scores. But each one of them have their own different goals. When they'll meet periodically, discuss the students, and move on to the next stage when they're ready.
If a student does have success, though, they can choose to remain in the program.
Yes.
Well, the reason I asked, a couple of years ago, a relative of a student, not his parent, but a guardian, was very upset because, and you may remember, Bill, because you were on the board at that time, I think, wanting to know why the student had made all of the benchmarks that were set, why he was not able to return to the, I guess for lack of a better word, mainstream, and there was no answer. It sounds like there's an answer now.
Absolutely, there will be answer next year. And my own opinion, I think with these career tech programs, some of the students may choose to say, you know what, I'm going to have success here. I may want to stay here because I am successful and I know these people at New Beginnings care about me. I do want to stay in this program. But we do have, if they wish to move on, we do have an exit place for them.
Well, and the other thing, you mentioned something about one of the programs dealing with learning to work with tools, and it sounds an awful lot like the program that operated a number of years at the old Harrison School, which Mr. Hawks, if I am correct, was highly involved with. So I hope you lean on his past experience and expertise there, because he told me once or twice, did you not, about getting contacted by one of those students who is now a successful business operator?
Yes.
And that's the goal of the program.
And the lovely young lady in front of me was a student at Harrison 25, 26 years ago, which is the family of this young man. So,
Wow.
yeah. I had black hair, so.
At least you still have hair now.
Yes, we know this. Thank you.
And I believe some of our field experience, like I said, Ben went to the Army training camp in which we were planning on going to Ravenna as well next year, but I think you loved going there, didn't you? Oh, exactly. They actually let the students drive scrapers around the area and everything else, so they also learned how to lift the dozers, put on the float and everything else with it, so it was a great experience for them.
Are there other questions from board members for Mr. Hall? Well, I would like to say congratulations, yourself, Mr. Tucker, and the entire staff. When we first came on the board, that was at the early stages of New Beginnings in the credit recovery, and they were really good ideas, but perhaps hadn't been fully developed. And so we see an evolution that gives much more clarity. And I think that's important for parents because they know how I got here and what the next steps are, and that's really important. I mean, I've met kids who were going into the program and they didn't want to come out. For the first time, they were experiencing success in education, and they were like, hey, this is working for me, please let me stay. So kids are different, and sometimes we think they should be mainstreamed, and they're like, no, I found the right place where I've got my niche and I've got the teaching style that aligns with my learning style. So we appreciate alternative high schooling because we have alternative learning students. And it's not that they're good students or bad students, it's that they learn differently. And we're now addressing that. So we appreciate that. And Mr. Tucker, thank you for your leadership and high expectations, because we are certainly seeing the results of what high expectations do. Any other comments? Thank you for the presentation. At this stage, I would like to move forward to the first hearing of the public. And we know that we have some guests who are going to do some presentations. We have simple protocols. You will come to the podium. After you've finished, please state your name and address. We limit the comments to 3 minutes. And we just ask that everyone be courteous and respectful. And we usually we don't expect too much response. Our general protocol is we listen to the information, and then on certain things there will be a response gotten back to you through the administration. And there are many of you, or a few of you, who would like to speak. We will have a second hearing of the public at the latter part of the meeting. But at this time, anyone who would like to address the board, please, sir, come forward and state your name.
My name is Myron Watchhorn. I live at 668 Hamilton Avenue, Lorain, Ohio, the historical Charleston Village District. First of all, let me say, Mr. Tucker, distinguished board members, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to each and every one of you at the open forum today. Sir, I have several pieces of paper here I'm going to read off. I may need just a little more than 3 minutes, and then I'd like to present them to the board to be added to the minutes of this meeting, if that would be appropriate. I'm not exactly sure what the rules are, but you can help me as I go along. They say that public speaking is one of the hardest things for a person to do. I find that in this instance, this is not hard for me to do. Board members, I am fighting for the Charleston Village Historical District. I believe that I'm trying to save the neighborhood from the Admiral King Elementary School. And I start out, I'm going to read a paper here, and I'd like you to pay attention, please. It says here, we the people of the Historical Society of the Charleston Village and surrounding areas are demanding by petition that the Lorain Board of Education make the Admiral King Elementary School playground a safe and secure place for our children and the residents of the Charleston Village area. We request by petition that the basketball hoops be removed or cut to a smaller height to be accommodated to elementary school children. We want signs posted to state that the playground equipment is designed for children of ages from 3 to 12 or from kindergarten to 6th grade only, along with a posted curfew on the playground of hours and rules, stating that no adults are to play on the playground equipment, no alcohol, no drinking, or no cussing on the playground. And I'd like to present this to the minutes if I could, sir.
Thank you.
I don't think that any of these reasons are out of proportion with what's going on at the school. I also have a picture here for board members of Tanya Morrison Junior High School. I'd like to present this to you, sir. Here's a picture of, again, of the school on the back of it, and there is an 8-foot fence around the school of Tanya Morrison. Of the Admiral King Elementary School, we have a 4-foot fence around the basketball area. Here's another picture of the basketball area with an 8-foot fence with the hoop missing. It was taken down.
And that's where, at what location?
Tony Morrison.
Locations on the back. If you guys want to look at them, you check. Here they are. I'll just hand them. This is all Tanya Morrison High School, to junior high.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel that the board needs to come together and we need to take action on this. This week alone, I've called the police department twice and had adults taken off of the playground playing on equipment that's built for 12-year-olds. It's a constant harassment to the neighborhood, to the peace and security of the neighborhood, and I have 247 signatures on a petition here to petition the board to do something about this. We're not going to accept a Band-Aid. It's going to be taken care of. We are voters. We vote for levies and we vote against levies. It looks like to me when they built the school next door, there was no design in mind when they built it. Why in the world would you put a 10-foot basketball pole around a 4-foot fence? We have people urinating on the equipment, having sex on the equipment, and there's nothing done about it. And our elementary school children are coming out and playing on this stuff in the morning.
Sir, we asked our guest to have a 3-minute time frame, and we're past that right now.
Pardon me?
We asked our guest to limit their comments to 3 minutes for
Okay,
the
so my
guest.
time's up?
Yes, sir.
I've said enough then. I'm open for any questions, though, for any board member. Folks, this is not going to go away. I'm not going to allow it to be swept under the carpet. I'm not going to allow for auxiliary police officers to ride around for 3 days and then disappear into the woodwork. And that's what's happening so far. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, if you would like to look at any of these documents, they will be here on the record, and we'll make sure they get entered into the minutes. Mr. Weber? Did you sign in?
No, I didn't.
Please do that. Thank you.
Thank you. What do you want to sign, right?
And just so you all know, I know there's scheduled, you probably know, tomorrow evening, there will be a meeting conducted by the superintendent, and he'll have some other guests, I think, from the city and from the police department. And at that time, you will be able to get more of an, I think, engaged conversation and some discussion to address some of these issues. We take this very seriously. This is a high priority for us: safety, security, and aesthetics. We've invested enormous amounts of money in this building project, and it is our intention to protect our property and make sure that our students and our communities are safe. So we do value this very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Ann Duché, and I am at 554 Ogden Drive, Elyria. And I've worked in this district as an art teacher for 20 years, and I still care. And as a bit of a link between the first speaker and what I have to say, when I would speak to my students and tell them the priorities in the classroom, the first is safety, the second is learning, and the third is fun. So I want to speak about the second one, which has to do with curriculum. I've asked you board members 3 questions. When are the fine arts coming back? Why did you cut curricular subjects before extracurricular subjects? And how do you justify funding benefits for administrators at the same time cutting programs for students? You have not answered these questions, but you have responded to my fears. At the last board meeting, most of you stated that you do value the fine arts, and that's good. That's very good. But it's not enough to say that you value something when history suggests otherwise. So this is what I urge. Let's consider the 2012-2013 school year to be an asterisk year. Let's make this past year, the year without K-12 fine arts, the exception to the rule. Let's make the rule be that all Lorain City School students have fine arts in grades K-12. I urge you to reinstate fine arts beginning this next school year. We know that the fine arts are not a frill. We know that the fine arts help the district with academic, attendance, and enrollment goals. We know that the fine arts help students with personal and interpersonal growth. We know that the fine arts are integral to our daily lives as work, as pleasure, as catharsis, as worship, and as memory. I urge you to direct your treasurer to find the money to bring back the fine arts. A budget is an expression of values. If you value the fine arts, put it in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional individuals who would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
Thank you very much for letting us come, and I can't attend tomorrow night, so I'm going to just say a couple things very briefly, and it's not to beat a horse to death, but some of you might have seen this in a communication email over the weekend. I stay in communication a few times a year with the Admiral King family. They all came in for the dedication of the Admiral King tribute site, and they came in that same day. We all went down to the elementary school, and the pride, you could just cut with a knife that day. Everybody in that community, the neighborhood, the students, the Admiral King family, which came in from 5 different states. We were all so proud, and it was such a beautiful school. It is still. And when I got this email, I didn't realize that this stuff was going on, because sometimes you just don't know it until it got into the paper and swiftly got taken care of in a week. That's amazing. So we have to really applaud the people who found the person who burnt this playground equipment. But I said, I will not communicate this letter or this article to the Admiral King family in these different states. I think I sent the one where they got the principal with the pie in the face and, the fun, good things. But this was such negative press, I thought, I'm not doing it. So, this is just one playground at one school in our city, and our neighborhoods, I don't know, we have good neighborhoods, but our older neighborhoods, our mediocre neighborhoods are just falling apart. Our housing, the people that come, there are some residents that don't have a clue about our city. They don't care about our city. They don't care about our schools. I don't know where they're coming from, but they're infiltrating into our city, and they're doing things that are really pulling that pride down in the way our city normally is. So I just wanted to vent this tonight and just say that I hope that we can take this as a problem and that will be remedied, and we can put that pride back that we had that day that school was dedicated. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, will you please sign in on there? Thank you.
I can't see.
Set your name too for the video.
Oh, my name's Renee DeRay, and I live in Charleston Village. We live on 2nd and Washington. I grew up in this city, and it's where our heart is. And on a daily basis, my heart keeps getting broken from things that happen in this community. So, anyway, okay. Sorry, I'm a slow writer here.
And before we move forward, because I think all of us share, we all live in the city of Lorain, and if we look at I've only been here for 15 years now, but even in that 15 years, we've been able to see differences that are undesirable, and we hope that we would love to see a shift in priorities of people and values, and how that translates to how we take care of our property and ourselves. And we're excited that the police were able to apprehend the alleged. I guess it's until they're proven guilty. That's a whole other concept for me too. Innocent until proven guilty. When sometimes you see the guilt and you've witnessed it, but the process has to work itself out. So we appreciate the community's fervent response.
Councilman Dennis Flores, 903 West 18th Street. My purpose here tonight is to address, it's regarding the arson at the Admiral King Elementary. And to be assured that the concerns and issues of my constituents are addressed, and hopefully in a manner that will be proactive and will result in a solution that Lorain City Schools, the surrounding community, and the city of Lorain can have some closure. And with the summer just around the corner, we're hoping that this isn't just a matter of letting the children play, but the seriousness of the offense and how you're going to address those issues and concerns of the residents, the area residents. And I noticed that the equipment, the charred remains is still there. I'm wondering, I know there's insurance purposes, and I'm wondering how soon the charcoal remains will be removed. I hope there's not 100 days or something where the insurance company has to investigate, and the conclusion of the investigation and hear that charcoal remains sits in full view. And so I was hoping that we could at least get it removed or cleaned up. And so I was wondering if, I know that there'll be a meeting tomorrow, and so we can air all of those concerns and how we're going to reach a resolve, and making sure that this doesn't happen in the future. And so I'd appreciate the boards to address those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes. Are there any more comments? We would like for Mr. Tucker just to, we can't answer all the questions. We don't have the solutions now. There's a lot of protocols. One is the criminal act, and people commit crimes. And then you have to deal with that. And to be responsible for someone's criminal actions is very difficult. We have to do our part. But Mr. Tucker will have some comments that he would like to share.
Just very quickly, just so you know, I've been apprised of the situation all along. And I've been on the phone with the police chief numerous times, with the mayor numerous times, with the council president. We all know this isn't just a school issue. We know it isn't a council issue. It's a community issue. And a lot of times you can't solve it, but you do have to manage it to the best of your ability. So we are aware of that. We have some ideas, and that's why I want the meeting tomorrow, because tomorrow we can come up with ideas and come with that. It's interesting what you brought tonight. We already have that on a list, and I think a lot of those are doable. But that's what we'll do tomorrow night. Just what I want to make a comment in is we just didn't ignore you. I hate emails. Some of you love them. I hate them, because what happens is when I send them, you read them, and then Jason says, I want a public records request of every email you ever wrote in your life. And I had to do 685 emails today, and it takes me a long time when I could be addressing other things. So what happens is I usually try to call you on the phone. In fact, I called Renee the other night at, 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. Some of you have tried to get a hold of me, and I'm not available, but I'm like Dennis. I show up, I'm there. So I'd rather talk to you or come to a meeting than try to answer emails, because the message isn't always sent. But the point is, we've been in communication with a lot of people. We're concerned. That's Lorain High area. That's my home area. I spent a lot of time on those streets, and it's a beautiful area. So we will work through a lot of things tomorrow night and have some solutions and go forward.
Thank you. Any other comments, information seeking? Thank you so much. At this time, gentlemen, if I might have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting held on May 14th.
Motion to approve. I'll support Mr. Demakia.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes. Is there any old business at this time, gentlemen? Then moving forward at this time through Mr. Weber, we'll have the report and recommendations of the treasurer, please.
Yes, there are 5 items on my docket this evening. The first one talks about the standard financial reports from April 2013. Item 2 is the purchase orders greater than $3,000 requiring Board of Education approval. Item 3 is the approval of the semi-annual 5-year forecast. I'll have a short presentation in a couple seconds on that. Item 4 is to consider approval of a contract with Lorain Associates for our what's called our gap conversion, which converts our cash statements to our accrual statements. That's an annual thing we do at the end of the year. Item 5, our Lorain Public Library is considered Mr. Wilson, a school library? School board. School library. And because of that, that is on the agenda for approval for the tax budget. Mr. Wilson, who is the CFO, is here this evening to answer any questions, should you have any. So I'll do a quick presentation on the 5-year forecast. This is a summary sheet of a lot of work a lot of people, and it shows the revenues, expenses, subtracts those two, and the line that says line 10.010 for contract certification is a key line. Let me go over here so I can talk to it a little bit better. For contract certification, if we have any collective bargaining agreements or whatnot to talk through. I also made this a little bit interactive if you want to play this a little bit this evening, but some of the key things are we do the 5-year forecast twice a year, required by law in May and October. Okay, so this is due at the end of the week, May 31st, and the thing that's a little bit different about this one is that we know that the state goes through a 2-year budget cycle every 2 years, and we're at the end of the cycle this year, which ends June 30th, and the legislature and the governor work together to figure out what next budget going to be for the next 2 years. So I've done something I haven't done in a long time. I put in kind of the middle of the road assumption for state revenue, which is right here. Is from legislature. This is the new money on top of what we get today. So the forecast is basically take the status quo and project it out and then do plus and minus changes to that status quo. So what I'm saying here is that a couple key assumptions are we're going to get $3.8 million next year going forward, and on top of that $4.1 million the year after going forward. So it'll be a sum of those two. That has not been approved by the state budget. We will know until July 1st. So this forecast will be, I'll have to reforecast it again in about 45 days, which we can do. It's not a big deal. But we can just reforecast it in 45 days, reapprove by the Board of Education, and resubmit it. The other key assumption is I put in here, we're losing about 250 to 300 children, students every year for charter schools, open enrollment or whatnot. So I baked that assumption in there too, going forward. So with those two key assumptions in there, we are going to have a positive balance at the end of the year, and you can see the red numbers here going out. Now again, just to make sure I'm being clear, this may change in 45 days or 30 days. That could be, they can give us no new money, they can give us potentially more than that, or the same or less or somewhere in between. So once we have those information that is firm and locked in, we'll come back, I'll come back in front of the board, and we'll have a better feel for that. It's called the biennium budget, and it's good for fiscal year 14 and 15. And we'll also have the luxury of closing out this school year, which ends June 30th, so have all those things locked in like that. So the forecast, you've seen the page before, it's a very detailed page. It has about 8 columns on it. It's color, and there's also 19 pages of assumptions that will be on our website and on the OD website by the end of the week. It's very detailed. It shows all the assumptions that went into this forecast. So, any questions from the board before I, yes sir?
You are showing a 1.5 roughly $1 billion deficit for 2014.
That's correct.
Now, if any of those numbers that we might get from the biennial annual budget, what would that do to change that number?
Well, don't forget, I did put in the legislature proposal
Yeah.
on top of our status quo, which is $3.9 million next year and $4.1 million on top of that the year after.
And what would that do to the 1.5?
That's it right there. That includes that. This is in there.
You've already put money in,
Yes.
but we don't know what we're going to get.
Correct.
So if we got more than that, the deficit would be
Go down.
less.
Yeah, correct.
If we put less than that, it would go up.
Correct. Be a worse deficit, correct.
So either way, we're going to have a deficit.
Well, it depends. It depends how much more the state gives us. And what if they give us more? I don't know.
In the GASIC budget, we were to get 6.6 million.
Right.
And intend the second.
Right.
Okay.
And 4 point something on top of that.
And in GASIC's budget, we would do well.
We would do better than that.
And I think,
Right.
Mr. Tucker, you spoke to the House, or the,
That's that.
yeah. And but that money also follows the students, does it not?
But that's included in there.
Yeah, but what's included?
So you've already netted it out. Okay,
What's
so,
baked in there, we're losing $13.5 million to the charter school kids, 5.2 million for open enrollment and 2.9 for ed choice, education choice.
Okay.
And on top of that, I took away another, that times 6,000 a student, which is 1.8 million bucks a year out the back
so
door.
you've adjusted the possible
Right.
CASIC budget,
Not the KSIC budget.
or the budget,
Legislature.
the legislative
Right.
budget that
Right.
finally gets approved.
Right.
And he's projected the
So
loss.
in any case, we're gonna have a deficit.
No, if the KSIC budget comes in or something above that, we might be,
So
that
the
might
black,
go away.
those are the numbers that, so the red numbers don't reflect the legislative budget, the numbers below it do.
What,
Correct?
No.
yeah, what you have, this is very conservative, and it reflects the legislative numbers. It's in the Senate right now, and then they have to have the joint committee, and it'll take a while. If it comes somewhere in between that, that 1.5 million is 2% of the budget, and we'll have to make, right now, that's probably as worst-case scenario as you get. We'd have to make that adjustment at that time, but until, if we got the governor's budget, we'd be 1.5 million to the good, so we don't know where the Senate's gonna come in, because the governor did come with a whole new funding system, and the legislature went back to the old funding system, so we don't know where it's gonna be. Whatever it is, we'll have to make the adjustments.
But without, we're pretty sure we'll get something.
Yep.
In worst case scenario, you think it would be what?
What you see there. Yeah.
Okay.
See, I
So
guess
we can
this-
end the 2014 year
In the black.
in the black. All right, I misunderstood what you sent the board then,
Okay.
because I took red to mean deficit.
There's deficit. Here, let me try something a little bit different. If I'm confused,
You're showing 1.5 million in the red for 2014. Mr. Weber,
Yes, sir.
that includes getting something additional from the state, is that correct?
Tell you what, I think the best way is just to do it interactively. I'll do it interactive for us.
All right,
Okay. I want to emphasize the point that this stuff is not approved by anybody in the state of Ohio. It is just an estimate. Okay?
yes.
Okay. That's no new state money. We're 5.4 in the red, growing to 13.6 in the red, 24 million in the red.
Okay,
That's a no new state money.
it's just as it is now.
Now I'll put the legislature in there. That's why that's the current forecast,
What, you got the governor?
okay?
Okay, now do
Now put the
the
governor in there. The governor's proposal from about a month ago. Okay?
And the-
Go ahead.
And the reason is the governor's funding formula, while a lot of people don't like it, there wasn't a category that Lorain didn't qualify for funds, and that his funding formula was good for Lorain. And you can see it there, what it does for us.
Okay?
So yes, now I misunderstood, I
Okay.
apologize.
I don't, if I'm not.
No, I understand that without any money from the state, we have a deficit.
Right.
If we get what Kasich wants, we have one outcome. If we get what the
That's Kasich
legislature.
right there.
Yeah. But even with the legislature, if they cut, I forget what it came out, what did it come out of the House at? For us, 4 or 3 or 4?
Almost 4, 338.
Yeah, so that would be adjusted down for
Yeah.
the students that leave, but it would still clear out a deficit. Correct? All right.
We'd have to make the 2% adjustment, yes, we would.
That's the legislature, that's the one I'm recommending we approve right now. We're still showing a deficit, that you had running over the weekend. Same thing, that's the legislature revenues right there. right there, legislature revenues. And it said it could be worse, better, the same, I don't know. We'll know more on June 30th.
And where would what's the 1.5, is that?
This is our deficit. This is the important line.
I know.
This is kind of interactive stuff down here. This is the important line you have to look at for our.
What is that based on?
That's based on the House.
The House proposal.
Yeah, but are there parentheses around the first number?
Here?
Yes.
Yeah, it's red.
So that's a deficit.
Yes.
Right, correct.
Based on the House.
Based on the House and the loss of 300 students.
The loss of 300 and then 2, yeah, right.
But on K-6 budget, it becomes a,
Positive
1.5.
number.
Because
Right.
his budget doubles that.
okay,
Okay?
yeah,
So, who's on first?
yes.
You gotta wait till July 1, you know how.
Who is on first? Yes.
Thank you very
Okay,
much, Mr.
so
Webb.
that's the forecast and the interaction of it. Status quo, plus and minus the differences. Okay, with that said, do you want to take them one at a time or all 5 at once?
Let's go all 5 at once.
All
No,
5?
I think we should not do that. Let's at least give the library their own.
You're right, I agree, we should do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So
call,
I make,
Jim.
Good call.
so make a motion to approve 1 through 4?
I support that motion.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
I actually like you to separate it. Which one's in here?
This is 1 through
1 through 4. 1 through 4 we're doing. We'll do the library by itself.
Yes.
Is that a
Well,
yes?
I would rather we amend it to exclude item 4. So I don't think we should be spending any money until we know what we have to spend. And we won't know that until we have the outcome of the legislature or the governor or whoever.
We have to do that by law, that we have to do an audit. We have to do a
Yeah.
cash conversion, and we have no choice.
Well, maybe
with
we
that.
could negotiate a better price or something.
There's a motion on the floor. Vote, roll call. It was up to you, Jim. You were a yes or no.
Well, based on Dale's statement, he's correct. We do have to do the audit, so I'll go yes.
Yes, for the,
Yes, for 1 through 4.
oh, okay.
And we vote on the library, we do that again.
Well, we have done it yet. Mr. Sturgill
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll do item 5, approval of the Lorain Public Library 2014 tax budget.
Motion to approve item 5.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes?
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Thank you, that's all I had this evening.
Question, before we go forward to make sure we've done this procedurally correct. Was the motion to vote on items 1 through 4 to extract it, or was that the actual motion?
No, my amendment didn't get seconded.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah, because there was no second.
And what that is the Department of Defense agency that promotes a culture in which all American employers support and value their military service of their employees. Our military personnel can nominate their company, and then they come in and they take a look at the companies to see what level of award. Dr. Stephen Sturgill nominated this district for a Patriot Award, which is an award that they award to a lot of employers. We got a copy of that, and which we're going to be hanging up in all of our buildings. In addition to that, I was asked to go to a banquet last Saturday, 2 Saturday evenings ago, I believe, in Columbus. They didn't tell me why. They said you needed to be there. Well, what I found out was the reason was Lorain City Schools was on a list of only 30 businesses in the state of Ohio that got what was called the Above and Beyond Award. and it was of what Lorain Schools does for their military. There was only 2 school districts involved, but as I passed out to the board, some of the other organizations were the University of Toledo Medical Center, United States Postal Service, Whirlpool Corporation, Procter & Gamble, Goodyear Tire and Rubber, and out of that, we were in some pretty good company. There were 2 organizations that got chosen from this to move on to the national award. They were the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company in the city of Columbus, and they had a lot more employers military personnel than we had. But I wasn't quite sure what to expect on this. This was extremely impressive and really something, because this is this isn't just something we did this year. It's something Lorain Schools has supported their military personnel while they're gone. And I just wanted to make that known that we got the Above and Beyond Award. And you can go online in the ESGR and look it up and see all the information on what they do for those. But the school board should be commended in the district for what they've done over the past few years. And these awards will be hanging up. Thank you.
Okay, in addition to that, then, a week or so ago, we had the Academic Distress Commission meeting, and at that meeting, I made a presentation, and part of that presentation was our 3-year academic recovery plan. Part of the commission's work is to put together a recovery plan, and one of the problems with the timing of this commission was the report cards, if you remember, didn't come out till like February or March of this year, where they're supposed to come out in August for various reasons statewide. Well, the problem with that was it set everything back. And we need to improve our academics here. That's no secret. I've made no bones about it. We take responsibility for it. We're moving forward. They have to have a recovery plan written within 120 days of when that commission was formed, which puts it in August 20th. Well, you can't have a plan out August 20th when the teachers are coming back 5, 6, 7, 8 days later. So we went ahead and a team started putting together an academic recovery plan. We studied a lot with what Youngstown had done, and there's also just some good practices. This was a presentation that we made to the commission, and I want to do it for the board tonight so you know where we're at and where we're headed. You can look here and you can see what our overarching goals are. No secret, no surprise there. And on top of that, then we have our accountability components. And you can see where we're going to have to hit with our Ohio assessments and our Ohio graduation tests, which are going to be changing in a year or so, and our graduation rate performance index. These are all things that are on the components of the report card, which is going to change, and try to increase enrollment by 200 students, and also get our special needs services down to the average so we get supports in place down to 15%. In addition to that, then, what they're looking at is what's your actual critical areas of academic focus and exactly how you're going to do this. Well, right here, if you look, we have to align our standards. And one of the things that's coming is the Common Core state standards. Whether you agree with the state standards or you don't agree with the state standards, they are going to be the law of the land here very shortly. And what that means is we're going to have people get on board with those. They're a little bit different, and I'm going to be doing a presentation later this summer showing you how the Common Core is different. When we all went to school, you took a test and you went, oh, let's see, that sounds like an E answer. That's a C answer. Well, now when you answer that question in the Common Core, they're going to ask you how you got your answer, a question that you knew to process. Kind of like that teacher that wanted you to explain your answer that we all hated. But that's what's going to happen with that. Now, in addition to this, we have strategies on how this is going to happen, and we can see if it's in progress and our timeline for implementation on that. And you can see where we have the I CAN statements, the scope and sequence and pacing guides, which the teachers are working on right now. Next, after we align it, we have to have instructional practices. And you can see what those instructional practices are. Once again, that effective research base is what they're going to be looking for. And you can see the strategies that we're going to be using all the way down through there. Some we've done, some are moving on, some we're putting in place. And you can see where it's instructional coaching, where it's aligned work, grade level appropriate, visual cues for content standards. I can go into all the details on what that is at a later time. Project-based performance and what we need to have in place there. In addition to that, then, the next thing is some things that we've added since the commission, and I'm going to add this to our plan. In red here, you can see where it says associate's degree through Lorain Community schools, or Lorain City Schools, through our Career Tech program. And we're also restructuring that to align a lot of those things. One thing that I talked about last time is one of the things I think the community schools have an attraction to is they have some type of themes. We've had those things here in the past, and we've been talking about a lot of those. And what we would like to do is create a gifted academy, because we think we have a number of gifted students in here that we need to work on, which we really haven't addressed, and for whatever reason, financial reasons or whatever. 2, a homogeneous academy, whether that's a single-sex academy, whatever that would be. That would be like all boys, all girls. Is that something that's viable, or is it not? In some districts it is, if it is not here, but that's something we need to explore. 2nd, a STEM academy. We had some STEM academies here. We've got a terrific NASA lab here. We need to grow that, because STEM is one area where we can really partner with colleges. And 2, an arts academy. We talked about arts. We need more arts here, but we could get that academy in there. Those are ones that we're looking at for discussion. Now, you just don't implement those. That takes time to put those in place. But I think that's something we need to do, because that is where the needs of our children are, rather than just going to the neighborhood school. There's nothing wrong with the neighborhood school, but every child may need something a little different. Then we have to work on our environment and climate as part of that. You can see what's there. Instructional Refocus Center, commonly referred to as Time Out. That's what we need to answer those students, because we can't just kick them out of school anymore. They have to succeed, because we're responsible for them. State says we're responsible for them, so we have to refocus those. We have to have monthly attendance incentives. We're going to have map displays. What we found was very interesting, some of them have told me, is that students really don't understand where they live or where they live in that. And if you look on the screen, and I can always remember a student when I was at Lorain High would say, one of my social studies teachers used to say, now what's the name of the lake out there just north of Lorain High? And they would go, well, which lake? What do you mean, which lake? Well, the one on the east side or the one on the west side? No, it's the one that all Lorain is. But put some of those maps up. Also put up learning poster character traits, and work character building so they see those. And you can all remember your school days when you went up and you saw some saying that some teacher had up there that you remember. And those are some things that we need to instill in our, and then an early warning system. Well, what's an early warning system? We need to have a thing in place where a student starts to fail, or we start to have issues with the student and they need some supports. That we need to get an early warning system to really identify those students. There's a lot of good models out there that we need to put in place. Instructions of leadership using OIP. What's that stand for? The Ohio Instructional Plan, that instructional process. That is what we are under because of what our academics have been. And you can see what the shared leadership is. Daily instructional rounds followed with immediate feedback. That's principals and administrators getting in to support the teachers in there. Systems of leadership. There's a whole lot of really cool leadership and teaching things on the Ohio Department of Education website. They have done a terrific job on those things. They're available for anyone to go see. And we need to look at those. I'm going to start a leadership book club with my principals, because a lot of times you always go, oh, I always wanted to read that educational book. But no, you need to stretch and broaden yourself, because you can't always get the PD. And it focuses us on what some best strategies are. And then also the district leadership team, which we're having monthly meetings now. You can see the other academic instructional coaches, supports, community partnerships, which we're really trying to build more than ever before. We're not an island, and sometimes, oh, we can do it alone. No, we can't do it alone. We need to do some things better. Job-embedded professional development. We've already had Silver and Strong modeling and coaching. Those are things that we can do in our classroom, and you can read a lot of those things that we're going through. One, Envision Springboard Math. That's obviously a program for math. iPads. We were very fortunate that we've had some grant funding that we've been able to purchase all iPads for 3rd graders through 6th graders in our district. And now we've got to get the training. Now they won't be taking them home, but they'll have them in class. But now, and students will sit there and work on those iPads a heck of a lot longer than they will out of some book or something. But there's a lot of research. All the new testing is going to be online very soon, and whether that's on iPad or laptops or computers, we've got to get up to speed with a lot of that. Data-driven decisions. What we've got to have is a data room in each of our schools, and we've got a whole lot of data. Everybody talks about it. We've got a whole lot of it. The problem is it easy for teachers to use. You gotta have it. What are my students missing? And it needs to be disaggregated. What's that mean? You take all that data, you break it all down, you go, you know what, John, you can't measure. And now I can see what we need to work on for this. And you know numbers in number sense, you can add and subtract, but we need to really get that down. So those are things that we need to get so it's easy and we can adapt to the classroom quickly. Diagnostic assessments, which is really crucial. And there's going to be a little piece here in just a minute that'll talk about that. Parent and community engagement. Lorain County Community College, we've been engaged with them a long time. Dr. Church and I have met on numerous occasions lately on how we can expand and make those programs even better, that what we can do for our students here. Our early college kids get associate degrees. Well, we've got PSEO classes, but what can we do to ramp that up? Stocker Foundation, I meet with them on a monthly basis. The other thing we're trying to do is align all of our programs. There's a whole lot of foundations and a lot of grant money out there, but kind of what we've been doing is a shotgun approach. Oh, that program and that program and that program. Now what we're trying to do is focus in. The foundations want this too, and they're working with us real closely on it. If it's reading, then let's all focus on reading and what kind of supports can we get for that so that monies are spent best for our students. The North Point SLO Collaborative Project. North Point is an ESC over here on Ottawa County, and that's part of the student learning objectives, which we're collaborating with a number of districts to go for there. Boys and Girls Club are in. We're also going to be working with Horizon if the grant passes within the district next year. And we also are going to be having some more community meetings out in the buildings as we try to build this. And this round circle is what you can see what we're doing, what's delivered, what's assessed, what's written, what's taught, and how that's going to work. And a lot of that is based right on the state model and what we're going to need to do. Now, what we have to do in alignment with standards. So what we have to do now is on our quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is how our school year is divided out. We have to have an early first quarter and a late first quarter on having all these things presented and deconstructed as we go through. And you can see the instructional practices on the support system. What you have now is a pyramid. It's most students are in a tier 1, but you have some that need a little bit more support. They're tier 2, and then you can see the top is tier 3. And what you need to do is supply supports for those students as they go through. Because some may need supports I'm sure all of us can, at some point in your school career, man, I just couldn't get geometry when they got to those postulates. I couldn't get them. And that's where you may need some extra help. So that's what we have to do. How do we do that? You can see the support systems over there, the extended days, the intervention assistance teams, and we need to ramp up some of our gifted education and also our ELL, which is our English language learners. Balanced system, what are we doing? Northwest Evaluation Association is something that will help take all our data, identify our gifted, and have a lot of those things put together. We need to have assessments. What are assessments? They are tests. And what we need, short cycle, formative, diagnostic, high stakes, they all have different things. Think of it as when you go to the doctor and he sends you to the hospital. You have different tests. Some are really ones you don't want to take, and other ones are blood tests, no big deal. And these are all for educational purposes. Short cycle, just a small amount, formative, and we need to create those. Some we're going to create ourselves. Other ones are going to be reliable because they're purchased from Pearson, Plato, Readiness, Study Island. Our computer technology, and you can see what we're doing on computer technology, these are all research-based and they're consistent across the district. So no matter where a student goes to school, they'll have those available. Daily common planning times for teachers to collaborate is crucial. Some of you remember the ABIT program, which we had in Lorain a number of years ago. It's called Advanced via Individual Determination. It's a college readiness program. It's basically the kids get their binders and they learn how to take notes, and they learn how to organize, and they learn how to move forward. Somehow that got mislaid, but we're going to be having some of that at the 9th grade and hopefully expand that out over the next years. ABIT is a good program. Anyone's gone through it, the students, they carry those things on into college. Foundational skills, we are going to work a little bit with manuscript and cursive. Some people go, why do you do that? Have you ever seen young kids sign their names now? They don't sign their names, they print their names. So we're going to do a little bit of that. I know it's not on the test, but we're going to help incorporate some of that there, which I found really interesting. Balanced assessment program. You can see what these are: formative, benchmark, and summative. And you can see the formatives are your daily ongoing, where your summative are your large scale. Your summative is like your OGTs and your OAAs. Those are your big tests. but you also have benchmark ones to see if they are where they're supposed to be at specific times. You take that information, and then that's how you direct your instruction to make sure you're on target for that. Environment and climate, attendance. We're rated on our attendance here. One of the challenges we have is we moved a high school and a ninth grade over to the side of town that's hard to get to. So what we had to do is that's why we put the high school busing back. So we're working with a lot of things to try to make that there. We just have had a number of meetings that we're going to be involved with the courts. And we're going to be working with the courts because you know what, sometimes it isn't the student's fault they're not coming to school. It's the parents. So we're going to be working with the courts. I guess we did years ago, but we're going to really, really ramp that up so we can work with the courts to put some pressure on some of these parents to really get their students to school. You can't really blame a second grader or a first grader, but we need to make sure that happens. I think that's a big piece. When I was in my previous district, we had an attendance task force, and it had some real success with that. Safety and behaviors, that goes without saying, and we're going to be working on those. And then, of course, our building focus groups, which is going to be three-pronged: academics, attendance, and behavior management, because the bottom two also drive a whole lot of the top one there, the academics. Leadership, we have academic instructional coaches, and they should be in there helping, assisting in the classroom. Testing coordinators, they also are going to be monitoring the weekly and short cycle assessments to break that down so teachers don't have to do that, so that can happen. A data wall and a data room so you can walk in and see how Jimmy's doing and what he needs help in and where we're headed for that. I like Jimmy, that's my little brother's name. Academic support assistance, we're looking for someone to do those daily things. What are those daily things? They're required: attendance, tardies, early dismissals. One of the things that we want to make sure is a lot of times we take attendance. When some of our students get there late, we don't always get that attendance in the afternoon, and you get credit for that. So we need to really focus on making sure that that occurs. And you just have to have processes in place to make sure that's there. Progress monitoring and instructional oversight. You can see what's happening there. One of the other things we're going to do is do survey feedback to determine effectiveness of our programming. We need to get some feedback on that. And then student progress through comparison data trends, which we really need to take a look at also. Policies, procedures, and plans. And then the board will be looking at, of course, this academic recovery plan, and the district-wide strategic plan is in place, and as soon as the school year starts, we'll start that because we need a mission, core values, and all those things that are crucial to what happens in a district looking 4 and 5 years out. Then we're going to have collected data notebooks. We're going to have 2 binders, and in those binders, we're going to have this information there. So when the principals come in to meet with me and my team, they can go, what are you doing in your building? I want to see artifacts that they're doing. Kind of like a report card of a building. So I can get the support so I can monitor it, and we don't have to be surprised, and we can make sure that everyone has a common understanding of what's happening. And it will be a 30-day and a 90-day. And that's one thing that we really need to focus in on. Job embedded professional development, you can see all of those. I'm not going to go through them all because there's a whole lot of educational jargon. If you'd like further information on that, I have no problem going into that at another time. And then on our data-driven decisions, this is our assessment timelines. And this is what the commission is going to want to know. Are we succeeding? Are we not succeeding? And that's what this is. And you can see what the diagnostics that we're going to use for reading, math, and others as we go through. And we'll be looking at those to see if what we're doing in the classroom and what we're supporting is working, or do we need to make some alterations to make that happen. And there's timelines for each of those quarters and each of those things, because that's the data that they're going to be drilling down and questioning me on are we following through. Parent community engagement, and this is what we're going to be doing. We are partnering with local businesses, college, and agencies more so than in the past. One of the things I think we have that I said earlier is we're somewhat of an island. We need to reach out. There's a lot of community support here, and we're really trying to develop that. Community-oriented services, we're looking at teacher adopt students because in the past, I'm sure you all had that favorite teacher that always talked to you, and everybody's got the story about this teacher got me where I needed to be. So we need to help that with some of our students because they don't always have that adult right there to really check in on them. And then communication. That's something that we haven't done real well with, that we need to work on. And we're going to work on those particular things, getting more notices. Our website just went up, and that's a work in progress. It took a lot of other things in there. We're getting a lot of comments already, which is great. Keep coming. We're going to slow. You don't do this overnight. It's a major effort, and hopefully we'll be able to pick that up. Now, when we did this for the commission, and as I told them, I was going to go ahead with this because October 20th, no matter what any adults do, there's 7,000 students going to show up here, and we got to have our staff ready to go and our teachers ready to go. So we are going ahead with that.
Did you say October?
Yeah, you did, but he made.
That's October, mid-August. Mid-August. Well, they probably left August summer, but the students are coming, and we need to be ready on that, no matter what occurs. So, pretty comprehensive.
I believe that I was at the commission meeting, and I believe the commission was quite impressed with your plan, Tom. Oh, by the way, your microphone, I took it away from you. So, how much of this plan is going to depend on so-called legislative or state budget?
Probably not much.
Okay.
When it was written, we really tried to redirect current resources, and a lot of it is title. A lot of the assessments and that can be done with title monies, which we have quite a bit of. We didn't really add a whole lot. We've been really careful on what we've done, and we're just redirecting a lot of things at this point. I mean, there'll be a decision to make at some point in time, but.
Do you think you would consider bringing back a successful program from the 80s, the Adopt a School program for businesses?
That's been sitting on my desk under a pile of academic commission stuff, and that was a very successful program. I've got what we need to do is try to work that into an academic piece. I'm trying to do everything that we do now. I'm trying to work it into academics, and that has a lot of possibilities, obviously, that we need to do. I still want the business advisory together. I mean, there's a whole lot of things.
I know.
Yeah, this slowed us down a little bit with this plan and the commission, but we're hoping to move forward.
Well, I'm wondering, getting back to the attendance and all, would there be an opportunity to perhaps ask volunteers from the community and train them to come in and do some of those tasks that wouldn't add to the budget but would?
Possibly. We'll look at that. There's a lot of regulations and rules on that, but the parent volunteers and that, they would we'd entertain that. With the attendance piece, we really want to use the guidance on the court on that.
There was a time in the past, this goes back probably to the 50s, even 60s, when they did the annual enrollment audit. It was citizens that came in into each building, and they did the count, and that would cost. That's what I'm thinking. Is there people out there that would be willing to do some of those non-teaching tasks that are so vital to the teaching?
We do have some that do that, but we'd be more than glad to expand that. Absolutely, get parents involved in the schools and the children. Absolutely. Okay, under personnel matters, item 1, approval of new appointments, support staff. These are our summer help and also our substitutes that we have to have. Item 2, approval of leave of absences. Those are as listed. Item 3, supplemental pay. This was speech and hearing. We had someone go on maternity leave, and it's very difficult to find those people. So these folks were willing to take on some extra duties, and we talked with the union, and they were willing to come up with a supplemental. And this is a one-time thing to save us about $40,000. Personnel matters A, I ask for approval of items 1, 2, and 3.
Motion approval, items 1 through 3.
Support.
Discussion?
Well, I still do not feel comfortable spending money until we have a final idea, which would be at the end of June. And no, Mr. Williams, I'm not politically grandstanding. I have an honest concern that.
I understand.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
I missed a support person. Who supported?
That was Mr. Fallis.
Thank you. Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
I'm going to abstain for lack of enough information.
Mr. Demakia
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Operations B, item 4, this is approval to provide Play-Doh. This is for our career tech program, and it'll be a career tech expense. Item 5, renewal of the interagency agreement. This is an annual agreement with all these organizations that we have to enter into. There's no cost. Item 6, approval of a contract with Lorain Music Center. I guess this is an annual renewal for all the snack and vending machines. Ask for approval of items B, operations B, items 4, 5, and 6.
Motion to approve operation matters items 4 through 6.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fallis,
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes?
Mr. Demakia,
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes.
This is the good one. C, facilities, item 7. Last board meeting we had it was last board meeting. We had the presentation on the high school, and you know this process much better than I do. But this is the next step to approve the resolution of the state required phase submission plans for the design development documents for the new Lorain High School.
Motion to approve item 7.
Support.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mr. Fallis,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes?
Mr. Demakia,
Yes.
and Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Concludes my report.
That takes us to new business, although I think we have pretty much addressed that. We were going to take an opportunity to have some discussion as it relates to the recent occurrences at the elementary school in which there was property damage through a fire. I feel that we've gathered enough information. The administration is, I think, pretty targeted to work its task. We'll look forward to hearing some more from the superintendent post his meeting on tomorrow. If there are a few board members who would like to attend that meeting, that would be appropriate as a show of support and to make sure that we have our community recognizing that we're listening. So anyone who would like to, please let me know. We have to be cautious, of course, that if we have 3 board meeting members attend.
No, that's not true.
We're okay?
Yeah, as long as we're not conducting business. I'm planning to go. I wouldn't suggest we sit together.
We can't sit together? Because it might look like we're planning?
Yeah, it could
Oh.
be other things too.
Yeah, well, you know.
As long, no,
Well, what about coffee afterwards, Jim?
are you buying?
You're going to let me buy this time? So, feel
President
free.
Williams.
Yes, sir.
Could you let us know the time and location of the meeting tomorrow, please? And the public, for that matter.
It's at 6 o'clock at Admiral King Gymnasium.
Thank you.
Admiral King Elementary.
Yes.
No.
Thank you.
Oh.
At this time, since that was not very good, can we have, do we have any committee reports or requests from board members?
No, but I want to share a nice story that.
Okay, moving on.
No,
we're going to go.
I had the pleasure last week of addressing 4th graders at Washington School to talk about what it was like to go to school when I was in the 4th grade. And the 2 things, and Tom's going Thursday. And while I was there, the mayor came in and spent a half hour with the kids. They loved that. The 2 big questions, Mr. President, that they just couldn't get their arms around was, number 1, why did you have to walk to and from school? And number 2, why did you eat breakfast and lunch at home and not at school? Everything else didn't matter. But so I explained that I did do that, and it was a great experience. And all of our 4th graders this last 2 weeks toured the Black River Historical Museum. And they all, if anybody has ever toured that, they were all taken with the player piano. And although I had to explain to the teacher that when the player piano was first produced, it did not have an electric motor.
Pedals.
Pedals.
Pump 'em.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
President.
Didn't you also take in a 45 LP?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, they wanted to know, was it a CD with a big hole? How many of you know what a 45 record looks like? Huh?
Looking around the room, I'm going to guess, I don't want to be rude to anyone, but I'm figuring most of us kind of.
The day before I was there, a number of the students attended went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And they did not know why the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was in Cleveland. Well, it's because Cleveland is the birth of rock and roll. A crazy 1950s disc jockey by the name of Alan Freed and his Moondog show. Maybe your folks were Moondoggers, were they?
I don't know. They may have.
Ask them.
I wasn't around.
Well, I went down to the 530 shop on Tuesday and bought a 45 record player for $20. So I took my prized record, bought in 1954, of the first really big rock and roll hit, Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and the Comets. And those kids were rocking and rolling before I left that room, sir. Thank you.
And this was our moment in history. Yeah. Tune in. In 2 weeks. Yeah. All righty then. Well, thank you, and I'm glad you spent some time with those youngsters.
And I am too. Thank you.
At this time, we would recognize the public for second hearing. If any would so choose to address the board, feel free to come to the podium. And since we have no takers, we will just move forward. Thank you. Do we need to go into an executive session later on, correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so the announcement we will do for...
There will be no decisions required?
That is correct.
Okay.
So our next board meeting will convene on... This is where I'm waiting.
The 11th.
The 11th of June, here, 6:30 p.m. Look to see you all there. And I need a motion now to go into an executive session. And Mr. Weber, you will help me with which items?
I would suggest item A2, employment, and A7, compensation.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill?
Yes.
Mr. Fallis?
Yes.
Mr. Demakia?
Yes.
And Mr. Williams?
Yes. Thank you all so much for attending. We will convene our executive session here, so if you would be so kind, we would ask you to politely excuse yourselves and have a wonderful evening. And we will see you again next week, or 2 weeks from now.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools, TV 20 WLCS.
To purchase a high-quality copy of the program you just viewed, please call Lorain City Schools Television at 282-8400.